Welcome to Gaming on a Budget. Today we bring you Forge War, which is a Euro-style game wherein you will play the leaders of adventure and guilds. Now, unlike something like, say, Arcadia Quest, where leader of an adventuring guild means managing the individual, actions and turns of a handful of adventurers, this time around, things, in the style of a Euro game, are going to be more on the macro level than the micro level. We will be, agreeing to undertake quests. We'll be assigning adventurers to those quests and, kind of leaving them be to complete them on their own, however they manage to do so. But we will be researching better weapons and armor to provide them with, the ability to complete the quest. We'll be managing a small mining operation. We'll be, visiting markets and doing all kinds of, managerial things. Essentially, we're going to start out by refreshing, which obviously we won't do on the first round, because everything's already fresh and shiny new. Then we'll move over to the mine here, where we will each take an overseer action. We each get to move one of these little boobahs somewhere, and we will take a resource for every pickaxe we leave behind. When you move your overseer, you'll leave behind a pickaxe. So in this case, if I were to make that move, I would get a copper. Now, if, for example, let's just say that yellow had previously crossed this path, when my overseer leapfrogs over that pickaxe, it becomes one of my own. So at that point, I have created 2 pickaxes in that move, so I would gain 2 copper. Or if, one of the pickaxes was here, I'd gain, copper and an iron, or, copper and a jade, or whatever. Now, let's say, for even more excitement, that this is the pattern that exists when I decide to move my overseer. So I hop on over there, place one of my pickaxes where I left, so that's a copper for me. I jumped over one of my own, so I will in fact convert it into one of yellow's, who will then get a copper. And this one will then get converted into one of mine, so I will get an iron. So in that move, I've given myself a copper and an iron, but I've also given my enemy a copper, which, never a good idea to feed resources to the enemy, but sometimes a move is going to be exciting enough that you're like, whatever. Anyway, so that's essentially the gist of how the overseer phase is going to operate. Then the current first player, indicated by the happy little turn order thing here, can choose to take a second overseer move, but if they do, they will drop down into last place in the turn order and be stuck there. And that would follow the same rules seen before. Now, after that, what's next in the turn order there? Rearrange player. Yep. Yes, the market phase. After that, we each have one little happy market disc that we can take to visit any of these spaces here. The big circles, as many players as want to can go there. You don't block each other. The little circles, however, it's first come, first serve, as per many other Euro games. So, for example, only one person is going to be able to purchase a new weapon recipe in a turn, which is probably a good thing since there's only one out per turn.
Well, there can have more than one come out, but that's only if they're public. You draw public.
Yes.
Sorry.
That is referring to the cards down here with the star symbol underneath. Those are public recipes, which, when they come out, are going to be added to the public row, where each player could, with a market action, by going here, in fact, purchase access to one of these guys.
No. That's actually only to purchase the weapon from the weapons pile. This one down here.
It's this one, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, so let's just pretend I'm not an idiot. And it's this space for the publics, this space for the privates. So if you want to get a hold of some privates, that's the space to go.
No, that's not the space to go.
Wow.
Phil just likes public privates.
I don't know how to find privates. I anyway, so public, private.
Yes.
Right, moving right along. The rest of the spaces, access to the market. Obviously, the one labeled 2 is for 2, 3, or 4 player games. The 3 and 4s are only going to be for 3 and 4 player games. So in our 2-player game, only this space will access the market cards, unless I'm an idiot.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Not this time.
Not this time. Well, good. And then finally, this space will be for advancing your quests. Well, what are quests and why would you want to advance them? Good thing you asked, because the next phase is the quest phase, wherein you first have the option of acquiring one of the available quests for a cost indicated on the board, 0, 1, or 2. And let's say that you acquired this happy little quest right here for $1. First, you're going to take one of your available quest tracker, marker, tiny cube things, and put it on the first space, and assign whatever adventurers you choose. Let's say this level 2 guy right here. I'll get to adventurers leveling up in a second. This level 2 guy right there, but you can't send him in naked and weaponless.
What?
You're gonna have to provide him with a weapon.
No way.
Luckily, you start out with a couple of basic recipes. Let's say we don't really care too much about this guy and his success, so let's just give him a copper dagger. So we will take the resource and set it on him to indicate which weapon he has, the weapon that costs 1 copper.
Yes.
Also, when you get later on in the game and have a bazillion patterns and stuff, you can use these happy little tokens to help indicate what weapon they have, which can be important. Some quests are going to insist on certain weapons to complete certain levels. But so, now, he would be, sitting there ready to start adventuring, except that now we go over to the management phase, where we're going to check if he meets the requirements to be accomplishing the current leg, which is the whole bar there, of the journey. The requirement being 2 power. Well, if you look over at his copper dagger, it's only got 1 power. So unfortunately, he is woefully insufficient to complete this quest.
Yes.
Shucky darns. So at which point, he would fail the quest. And being that this is the round I acquired the quest, I'm going to get a -3 point penalty for failing it immediately, just for being a giant stupid.
It's like, why would you do that?
But if in lieu of that I had given him a copper sword, which has 2 power, he would meet the requirement, and instead of failing, would advance to the next leg of the journey. Now, if he had already been here, he would jump on down to this leg and gain the rewards for this leg, in this case 1 coin. And if he made it all the way to the end there and advanced, somehow being sufficient to do that, which he's not, but let's pretend he is, he would then at that point complete the quest, gain the final rewards and the points. Now, these points in parentheses here are for if you fail the quest after having reached that leg. So if you get this far and then fail, you're still getting 19 points. You're just not getting the full 28 you could from actually finishing it. And now, I mentioned adventures leveling up. Well, that's going to be important mainly because of it determining what they are able to equip and things like that. The basic equipment any old random Joe Schmo can equip, anybody can wave around a copper dagger like there's somebody dangerous. But if you want to be using, let's say this awesome wood chopper here, you notice it says level 3 requirement. Oh, actually, I guess I could have just showed you the top card, which is also a level 3 requirement. But, whatever. I didn't do that. So, there's going to be requirements for the more advanced and cool equipment. So you want to get your guys up levels. They're going to gain a level anytime they finish an entire quest card, and they're going to gain a level if you choose to advance them manually through this space, or through cards like this. The double chevron symbol there indicates leveling up an adventure. So, I think that's about all the preamble you need. Anything I didn't mention, we'll explain as we go on. I guess one last thing to mention is there's 2 ways to play the game. You can play the, normal, light, whatever version, which you essentially just play through, 1 year of the game. Or there's the epic version where you play through a whole 3 years and, is, as it indicates, epic in length and scope and a variety of other things. So, let's get on over to some gameplay.